You know, change is inevitable and it will happen. And when you look at this movie and you see the villains of this movie are the sheriff and the judge, I often think it's important when you're making an ethical decision in your own life that you imagine sitting in the cinema looking at the screen at yourself doing a certain thing and ask yourself, am I a hero or am I a villain at this moment?
Richard Perry Loving being a white person and Mildred Jeter being a colored person did unlawfully cohabitate as man and wife.
Richard?
It was in 2012, and I was actually approached by the producers first with the trailer for the documentary, which that made me cry. I was just immediately compelled, but I also was mildly ashamed because I didn't know about their story. Nancy Bursky, who made this documentary, The Loving Story, which you can find, it's on iTunes, it's on HBO Go, she basically delivered a hard drive with all of the outtakes of the archival footage, which was recorded in the mid-1960s with the Lovings. So I basically had handed to me, 4 years of research. And it became the basis for how I would lay out the screenplay, and then later during production, how we would build the sets.
I bought it. This whole acre. I'm gonna build you a house. Right here. Our house.
I heavily relied on Nancy's documentary. Physically, from a practical point of view, how she walked, her gait, her movements, how she held herself, the timbre of her voice, the tone of it, the pitch, obviously the accent, because it's quite specific to where they were born and grew up, Central Point and Bowling Green.
I'm gonna raise my family here. I don't care what they do to us.
Get Peggy inside!
I feel from the moment we spoke to Jeff about the project, like he was striving for authenticity across the board. Never before, I've approached trying to play real characters before, but there was something extra about trying to not just, for Ruth and I, not just to strive to create Richard and Mildred separately, but what they were together. There's traces of it on the documentary, which are all about what they were like when the cameras were around. The question was, what were they like when the cameras weren't around?
In here?
Richard!
What you doing in bed with that woman?
I'm his wife.
That's no good here.
I just drew on my family. My dad grew up very poor in a town called Altimer, Arkansas, which was a cotton town. And I always used to ask him about the horrors of segregation and what he saw. I would play with black kids and I would play with white kids. And what a lot of people forget is how we depended on one another.
There's going to be a lot of sympathetic people to this story who have had an experience, the children of the byproduct of an interracial couple who already know about Richard and Mildred. What I hope for this movie is the people that really get to see it are people like me who get to kind of really question their own judgment about other things from the safety seat.
Is there anything you'd like me to say to the Supreme Court Justices of the United States?
Yeah. Tell the judge I love my wife.
I've got racist relatives. You just wonder how to open up their minds, how to somehow get to them. And the only thing that I could figure is to tell a story like this, to say, I don't want to talk to you about your religious stance on this or your political stance on this. I want to talk to you about these two people that love one another and that there's humanity at the center of it.